Netivot Shalom. So we do Pinchas, Parashat Pinchas, right? And toward the end of the parasha, right, we are reading actually every Yom Tov, or depend on the occasion, we are reading parts from Parashat Pinchas, right, about the Korbanot. So Vedaber Hashem el Moshe le'emor, right? Hashem is talking to Moshe to inform Bnei Israel, right? Save Bnei Israel ואמרת להם את קורבני לחמי לאישה, ירח נכוחי, תשמרו לקין במועדו, right? So my sacrifices, my bread, the smell, everything, right? All the sacrifices you need to keep and sacrifice on its time. And the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, which is, by the way, today I think it's his yortzeit, Yilula, מקשה, and he asked, למה נסדרה פרשת הקרבנות רק כאן אחרי מינוי יהושע? Why the korbanot are actually stated here in all the details after Yehoshua been nominated to be the leader, right? The successor of Moshe. הרי קורבנות נהגו כל 40 שנה שהיו במדבר מעת שהוקם המשכן. Right? So when we read the Parshiot, Chukat, Balak, the death of Miriam, the death of Aaron, when you see the desert, basically it happened on the last year. Everything happened on the last year, right? So like where are the 40 years goes? So when he said here the same question, he said, why are you talking here about the Korbanot? It's like 40 years passed, you nominated Yehoshua, you did the Korbanot before. Why
I don't know where our past 40 years went.
Exactly, right? Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
So why the Torah is mentioning the Korbanot here? And also we need to explain, these two Parshiot are very close. What's the connection between nominating Yehoshua to be the next leader to the sacrifices? Although we know, אין מוקדם ומאוחר בתורה, there is no prior or late in the Torah, but nevertheless, still we know that this Parshiot, the order of the Parshiot, there is an order for that, right? There is a hint, especially when the Korbanot, which basically should be on the maybe on the second year, right, when they had the Mishkan, maybe then the Torah should write about the Korbanot. So for sure there is a good reason why it was written at the end of it. Also we need to be precise when it says Savet Bnei Israel, I commend Bnei Israel. It says Lama lo ne'emar, the same thing in the it's called the Parashat Shechutei Chutz, like the sacrifices that are outside in Sefer Vayikra. Daber el Aaron ve'el banav ve'el kol bnei Israel. Like just speak to Aaron and his son and Bnei Israel. Why you don't say a command? Why just talking to them? And the Ramban wrote that over there, you know that yes, here it's like over there it was like a warning to Aaron and to his sons and all the people that bring the sacrifices, and also to Israel that bringing the sacrifices. And why in this parasha, which is including all the korbanot, it says only Tzave Bnei Israel, not Aaron and Banav, not the Kohanim, the one that actually do the sacrifices. Only Bnei Israel, you have this commandment. This should include also the Kohanim. And also we need an explanation. באומרו, when it says, תשמרו לי להקריב לי במועדו. The לשון שמירה, like, watch it, is related to mitzvot לא תעשה. Right? Watch and don't eat non-kosher food. Watch and don't make secular the Shabbat. But here, we do an action. It's mitzvot aseh to bring the korbanot. So why it says tishmeru? So we have like at least three big questions here. One, why the Torah is talking about korbanot at the end? Why is it close to the parasha of nominating Yehoshua to be the leader? Why we are commending only Bnei Israel, not the Kohanim, right? And why it says about Shmira when actually we're talking about mitzvat aseh. Okay, ויש לומר, we should say, according to what he said in the Sefer HaKadosh Noam Elimelech, Parashat Noach. He said, שבכל דור ודור יש מצווה מיוחדת. Each generation have a specific, special mitzvah that they need to emphasize in that generation. Although, yeah, all the mitzvot are for us to keep, right? For all the generation, but each generation have one specific one that they need to moser nefesh. And he wrote the Noam Elimelech, but I think he lived around 350 years, 400 years maybe. And he wrote that in his time, the specific mitzvah that his generation need to really makpid was tzitzit. And this is what he explained in the Parashat Noach, ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav, that Noach was fulfilling and fixing the mitzvah that was special only for his generation. And he says, והנה לגבי דורו, so Noah Elimelech, Rav HaKadosh, right, but Noah Elimelech, he was a brother, right, there were two brothers, Noah Elimelech and Zusha, right, so he said that he revealed that mitzvah, it's it, but each and every generation, Shamrut Tzadikim, our sages said that they observed which mitzvah we have like a special siyata d'shmaya that is specific to that one. Right? I don't know what happened, but suddenly some of our lights goes off.
Here also there was like a change. Something happened.
Yeah, this is weird.
It's very hot out. I think there's a lot of people using it. Well, Joe Biden's president, so expect some blackouts this summer.
No, but some of the light work. Okay, never mind. Fine. So he said, so in every generation, and our sages, right, revealed what's the special one. And in every generation, we had our sages, the tzaddikim, that said that if you observe which mitzvah actually you have a siyata d'shmaya, a special one that Klal Yisrael machzikim ba, this is the one that relate to that generation. So I'm not sure which one. We need to really observe and think about in our generation. But according to that, he explained what our Ma'amar Chazal, when they said in Masechet Avot, al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed. Three things the world is standing, right? Three pillars. The pillar of the Torah, the pillar of the Avodah, and the Gemilut Hasidim, right? Learning the Torah, doing sacrifices, and charity. And the meaning, what does it mean? Ha'olam omed, standing on, right? These are the pillar. He said these are the specific mitzvah, special mitzvah that the world is depending on. And each and every generation have one unique thing from these three pillars, Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Hasidim, that is related to that generation. And according to that, we should say, שדורו של משה, מקבלי התורה, היה דור של תורה, right? The generation of Moshe, they received the Torah, right? First hand. So that was the main thing, which שדור זה היה דור דעה. It was a very wise generation, right? In the Zohar Kadosh said that there would never be such kind of a generation. And that was from the strength of Moshe. He was the influencer, that he was the midat da'at of Israel. And all these 40 years, they will learn Torah from his mouth, right? And he learned it directly from Hashem. And he influenced. It was not enough just that he was teaching them. He gave them something, right? A spiritual thing, spiritual gift. And because of that, they became wise. And then they became the generation of Dor De'ah. And they serve Hashem in a very high level. And even the sins that we found in the Torah, right? The Torah speaking about the sin that they have in the generation in the desert, we really cannot understand what was going on over there. That even from the sins, it became a Torah to learn. But the generation of Yoshua, right? And now we need to remember that, 40 years passed and all the people that between age 20 to 60, they died. And now it's like a new generation. The one that were babies before 20, or I don't know if somebody lived after 60, like 200 and something, but there were some. By the way, some say that the women didn't die. It was only the men. So anyway, so he said here that the generation of Yoshua, the generation that actually came to the land of Israel, they were not in that level of wisdom that they had, because they were, instead of Dor De'ah, the generation of wisdom, which is you're using your brain more, right? Because they were learning, they didn't need to work. But the generation of Yoshua, they were generation of Avodah ve'yegi'ah, work and sweat, right? כמאן דכתוב בישוע ויעבוד ישראל את השם כל ימי ישוע, that they served Hashem יעבוד, right? The word Avodah. והנה, in the shorish and the root and the source of Avodat Hashem, from Avodah ve'yegi'ah, like an action to do something and put an effort, that's the work of the sacrifices, Avodat HaKorbanot. And including in the Amoda Avodah, right? So when we say Torah and Avodah, some people think it's go to work and 9 to 5. No, the Avodah is Avodah of the Korbanot, bringing the sacrifices. So that's why it was including this Avodah of Korbanot in one of the pillars that the world is standing on. And the root of it, it's very high. It's like going to this upper world. And it have the secret of the Torah. And he said here that are not yet revealed to us. What's going on over there? And that's the shoresh avodah, it's the root. And from it, we have branches of all the other thing of avodah shebalev, davening, right, in the heart, etc., etc. And also in the korbanot musafim like the extra korbanot or the added korbanot, like the added value tax, right? So you have added korbanot that you add. This is the musafim. And also in the Yom Tov, in the Chagim, right? You have extra korbanot that we bring. And he said that these are actually the soul of the Yom Tov. שהקרבת הקרבנות עם כל הכוונות העליונות, sacrificing with all the high intention to it, right? Because we know that if a Kohen thinking about something like, oh, I'm going to eat it after the date, or the time limit, or I'm going to sacrifice it outside, inside, whatever, if he's changing something in his thought, in his mind, the korban can be pigul or the korban can be pasul. You can change it only with the thinking, right? So that's a very, very sensitive avodah. And he said this is the soul of the Yom Tov, because it's have all the kavanot elionot that is planted in them when they are sacrificed. So now we understand that. So now we said, v'yesh lomar, we can say, the smichut parashiot, why these parashiot are close to each other? Because after nominating Yeshua to be the leader, we have the parasha of the sacrifices. And with that, Hashem informed Moshe that the generation of Yeshua, the generation that is going to the land of Israel, have a new path in their avodah, the amod avodah, work, which is avodah mitoch yegiah, from an effort that the root of this avodah, this work, is actually the sacrifices. And therefore, he used the lashon tzav, commanded. It's a general command to the entire nation. Your job now, that's it. No more desert resort. No more only learning. No laundry. Your clothing will grow up with you. You have tents. You have ananim. You have man. You have slab. That's it. It's gone. Now you need to work for it. Right. So that's why it was commended to them. And we found here, he said that this is also in Yana Leshonot Nisgaving, like there's divine word that the Torah is using that we didn't find in other place, which korbani lachmi leisha riach nichochi, like the smell and the sacrifice, like it's very difficult to translate to English. Basically, my sacrifices, my bread, my fire, the good smell, right, the barbecue smell, which maybe we're going to do tomorrow, who knows, for the 4th of July. Ki anachat ruach, because Hashem is really pleased from the avodat korbanot, and from the avodah mitoch yegiah, right, from an effort, which is more from keeping the rest of the mitzvot. And we're going to finish with here, I think, and explaining when it says tishmeru lakriv li bemoado, right? We said this is another question. Why, if it's a mitzvah aseh, you're using the lashon of tishmeru? Tishmeru usually it's mitzvot lo ta'aseh, the non-permissible one. And also it's niklal also belashon, and bring here an example from a pasuk. Ve'aviv shamar et hadavar, right? Like his father Yaakov Avinu was keeping, right, when Yosef told all the dream that he had, and he says ve'aviv shamar et hadavar. So his father keep that in his mind, to see what's going to happen in the future about these dreams of Yosef. And the Holy Torah, which is infinite, is teaching us that it's a hint for the time of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, right? The first, the second, when we don't have the Avodat HaKorbanot in action anymore, right? We cannot bring, it's the root of Avodat Hashem, right? The sacrifices. So it's in Bechinat Tishmeru, which is like we should wait for it to come back. That Klal Yisrael mishtokekim, that you're yearning, and we waiting for that to come. And mamtinu metzape matay yavo, right? We're asking when it's going to come. Really, when it's going to come? Like 2,000 years already. And he said that in Yana Korbanot, it's segula. It's capable of all avodat Hashem, and mitkayem b'zman, right? B'zmano. So the same way that we are anticipating and waiting, by doing that, we're actually bringing the light, the spiritual light of the korbanot, even when we don't do it in action. And this is the tefillot, the davening of the musafim, of Yom Tov and Shabbat, right? That we're saying in the middle of the davening in Shmona, so we're mentioning the korbanot hayom, and we're davening for that. It is if like we did it. As the Rav HaKadosh Me'apta, Zechroto Yagan Alenu, he said to someone that came to him, and he talked about his problem, his trouble, right? And he had the impression that maybe the tzaddik, right, the Abba Me'apta, doesn't really hear him, doesn't take his worry to his heart. והרגיש בזה הצדיק, ואמר לו, so the Rab Me'apta, he felt that, and he asked him, and he said, you worry that I don't listen to your problems, or I don't take it to my heart. The fact that we didn't have korbanot today, I don't see that you worried about that. You only worried about your own things. What about the Bet HaMikdash? What about the sacrifice? Why don't you worry about that? וזה עניין ימי בין המצרים, and this is the main thing of this time, right, that we're coming. I personally, I hate this time, the period from Yud Zayin B'Tammuz until Tisha B'Av, Asra B'Av. I don't like it. He said this is the עניין בין ימי המצרים, the days of yearning to Hashem, and we are waiting for Yeshua, for redemption, and these days are helping us to build the Bet HaMikdash. As our sages said in Masechet Menachot, Kol ha'osek b'Torah Olah, anyone that learning about the sacrifices, about the Olah, it is if like he sacrificed Olah. And anyone that is learning Torat Chatat, it is if like he sacrificed the Korban Chatat. And they didn't say Kol ha'lomed, sorry, Kiwi. They didn't say that Kol ha'lomed, right? But it says Kol ha'osek, like an esek. Esek is like you're working, you're doing, right? So it is if like you did it. And by we're doing that, we're doing the korbanot. That's why it's very important in the tefillah to say the korbanot, to say Pitum Aktoret word by word, not to jump, not to skip, because just think about it. If we say korbanot and we're skipping words, it is if like we are not doing the korbanot properly, right? So that's why it's very important word by word, the tonation and everything. It's not a joke. So he said, because by doing that, we're bringing the special divine light and the Gedusha of the Korbanot. And our sages said that these 22 days of Yameh Ben HaMetzarim are like the 22 holy days that we have, the Yamim HaNoraim, between, I think, Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot, and Shmini Atzeret. Al Derech Mashal, and they're bringing an analogy that when we paint, first we do the background, right? Maybe black background. So then we can paint all the colors, including white. If we need the white stripes or whatever, then the background will be black, not white. So then you can have all the colors. So he said the same way, the days of Ben HaMetzarim are like the black background for the holy days that will come. And according to that, it will explain us that this is the time of yearning to Hashem. There is a general yearning, and there is an individual yearning as a nation, and each Jew on the private thing that he is yearning for redemption. And this is the black background that all the other colors are lighting on it. And this is the inyan of Tisha B'Av, that the crying over there, it's not crying just for cry about something that, you know, a structure, a building that is gone, but it's a crying for now, for the future, that we want to build the Bet HaMikdash again. Thank you for listening.